Leading civil society organizations in Nigeria have called on the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to step aside following the affirmation of the conviction for electoral fraud of Professor Peter Oban.
Arise news on fire because of this Akpabio electoral fraud. My correct people, they must see the hot. Appeal court confirmed that Professor Oban rigged election for Senate President Akpabio. My people, this thing which happened on Tuesday, 30th of April 2025, the Court of Appeal confirmed the major decision made earlier by the High Court in Ikot, Ekpan, Akwa Ibom State. The court ruled that Professor Peter Oban was guilty of helping to rig the 2023 senatorial election in favor of the current Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. The case against Professor Oban began after several people raised alarm about serious irregularities during the 2023 election in Akwa Ibom State. Many voters and observers complained that the results from some polling units were manipulated. The investigation and court hearings later revealed that Professor Oban, who was a returning officer during the election, altered the results to reduce votes of other candidates and increase votes for Akpabio. The High Court found him guilty of electoral fraud, and now the Appeal Court has agreed with that decision. This means that the courts have confirmed that the election process was tampered with to favor the Senate President, and now they are now asking Senator Akpabio to resign. He should step aside from being the president of senators. My correct people, then, with this latest judgment, attention is now turning to what step the Independent National Electoral Commission and the Senate will take regarding Akpabio's position. Akpabio is expected to step down from that Senate. What is your opinion? Watch the rest of the video from this Arise News as the hot things are now getting and coming to limelight. Though Senator Akpabio said that he is a victim, that is not a beneficiary of 2019 electoral fraud. Akpabio have this unconvicted Professor Oban. Even AMNESTY, CDD, and 54 others have decided to announce that Akpabio should resign from his present political position that is occupying as Senate President over electoral fraud ruling. Watch this particular argument on Arise News and feel free to drop it in the comment section.
Society organization, especially those civil society organizations that have fought hard to get democracy back in Nigeria, they have been so worried and concerned that democracy and election has been bastardized in this country, and the need to restore political integrity in Nigeria so that at least we will be able to leave legacy for the younger generation. And to also, put confidence that our electoral system, it is not a system that it is only when you have money or when you have security or INEC or judiciary that you can win election. So because of this concern and because of the fact that you cannot be a leader when you have serious moral deficit, when you have ethical question around your, being involved in the electoral process, especially when the person who perpetrated this, act has been confirmed to have committed electoral fraud and even, recommended for jail, then you continue to sit in the leadership position in the country. In other countries, once you are involved, no matter how long that crime you committed, it doesn't need to be the present crime. Even if it was done previously, for the fact that you have committed that and that the court has confirmed that you are a beneficiary of such kind of crime, you lost moral superiority to be in that leadership position. And
but did he actually win that election? Because when we say he was a beneficiary, I'm wondering whether he won that particular election. I mean, I know he won the one previous and subsequent, but I mean, did he win that election?
For the court to have said that, his election was, constituted,
tainted.
Is tainted, and that, the INEC had even overwhelming facts and evidences as presented by the then electoral commissioner in the state, clearly show that something fishy had happened. If there was no any problem, why must it be a Akpabio case? It could be also the other people. But in this case, we have just seen, just as recent as last week, court validating the fraud that has happened. So we are just looking at it from moral perspective, from ethical perspective, from the fact that we need to leave a legacy. We need to restore confidence on Nigerians that democracy is not a platform for committing electoral fraud, electoral rigging, and what have you.
So let's be clear. The reason you're calling for him to vacate his position is for the sake of public confidence, the rule of law, the integrity of Nigeria's democratic institutions, and I'm quoting verbatim from your press release. And your argument is that if he remains in office, that would undermine democratic values, raise much more fundamental ethical questions, and send a dangerous signal about this country's electoral process ahead of the 2027 general election.
That's exactly what we have articulated in our position, and I tell you that we had more than these 60 organizations. In fact, at the time we were just going to the press, we had several other organizations that we could not even listed in the list because we had a time deadline for people to signify their interest to join on this. Unfortunately, they missed the deadline, so several of them, which will have run into hundreds, we are not able to do that because we need to make sure that we are timely.
So it's a much bigger group.
Exactly, it's a much bigger thing because many Nigerians who have struggled for this democracy, who really want this democracy to be a platform that can ensure justice, fairness, and pre-judiciary, independent judiciary, electoral body that is trusted, security that can be also unbiased, and INEC itself that can really be independent, and the people that can actually vote and be able to get what they have voted.
Yes,
they all need to be worried and concerned, and that is why they want to make sure that whoever benefited from such a system of fraud, he or she should not. So it's not just about AKPABIO person. It is about the fact that a crime has been committed, and irrespective of whoever the party,
the sanctity of the system.
Sanctity of the system.
But that system,
and we cannot be a country that is run by either hooligan or country that is run by unconstitutional order. If we continue that way, it means that we are mutilating democracy.
You have a very good point, but of course, I mean, the other side would argue that it also works both ways, because in addition to the ethical questions that you raise, the rights of an individual also have to be preserved. I mean, that's the whole point of it. But the question that you raise is, and that's a very important question, having been a confirmed beneficiary of the electoral fraud in the 2019 to the 9th Senate, did Senator AKPABIO have the legal or moral standing to contest for a seat in the 10th Assembly, talk less of serving as the President of the Senate, even if he didn't win in that 2019 bit? That's your argument.
So this is,
that's the question you raised.
So this is the thing that we are saying. We are saying that in the first place, if you have been involved in this process, even though he denied that he did not, state manage that, but now that we have gotten legal, or judicial conviction in that, case, it means that, he has a case, and for him to preserve the sanctity, the dignity of even that position as Senate President, he is like number 3 in the country, and if your election is having this serious integrity deficit, then definitely you need to make that sacrifice to show example that you are not desperate and you are not out there at all costs to stay in that position, unless it is a personal interest. If it is for the public interest, there's no argument, there's no worry. You can simply step aside and even apologize to the nation, because there's no way the probe will go to jail and then you are sitting, enjoying, like I said, irrespective of which election it is. It could be, even immediately the first election that he has even contested. But the fact that crime has been committed and you cannot rob or, clean that, crime that has been committed. In other countries, if you are found guilty, even after 50 years, you will still go to, face the music. in our country, because of the political control and manipulation and lack of respect for the rule of law and lack of the fact that we don't have, kind of political integrity in the system, people think that they can do. Impunity is all over, and they can even rig the election and say, let's meet in court. And that is why it's a very dangerous, and that's why, again, you see many unprincipled politicians are jumping from one place to another because they fear that they may actually win at the popular vote, and the people who wanted to take over that mandate, they will just meet in the court because already they may have planted all sorts of judges at the appeal court, at the various courts, that when they go there, they will just simply collect that mandate. That is the reason why you even see this madness of defection. Not because they believe in President Ahmed Bola Tinubu or they believe in APC. It is because of the protection. They want to make sure that they continue to enjoy the power and the resources of Nigerian people. Not because they want to build a vibrant political parties that will be constructive in opposition, that will bring alternative policies and programs that Nigerians can see the difference between what they have been canvassing for them to vote for them and what the ruling party is doing. So there's no principle. It's sad that there's no political party that is based on ideology or principle or even helping to save the Nigerian people or Nigerian economy. All they are after, they want to be there, they want to grab the power, whether at local or state or national level. And when they come, you could see clearly there's no difference between APC, PDP, and the rest of the party, including Labour Party. They are all there doing the same thing. And you could validate that even at the National Assembly. You could barely differentiate between the members of ruling party and members of the opposition parties. They all agree to what many Nigerians see as anti-evil legislature, because in legislature you have freedom of expression. In legislature you have freedom to debate and discuss for the national interest. Right now, in the National Assembly, if you speak against the leadership of the National Assembly position, you are likely going to be suspended or you are likely going to be, ambushed. So therefore, the politics in Nigeria has to change. We need to sanitize this, whole political system in the country to even give confidence for Nigerians who are not even in the electoral politics to now begin to go in.
Right.
But the way it is now, it will be extremely difficult if you do not do this dirty thing to get in there. First, you have to get dirty money to finance your election, to finance all sorts of agencies that can help you rig the election. Not campaigning on issues, not actually talking to Nigerians to see the problems they have. None of them is doing any need assessment to see what the problems are. For example, even the current leadership, they had promised so many things that, like electricity, like ensuring that they block leakages. There are so many things they promise. Nobody is asking questions, and because they don't really care about you, all they are interested, they grab the power and they are there and do whatever you want to do.
I think a lot of Nigerians would agree with your assessment. Let's return to the issue that we're discussing here. And let's be clear that your group of CSOs, you're not calling for the Senate president to step down, but to step aside, which essentially means that he should temporarily vacate his position until the matter is conclusively addressed. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what we are asking, because there's no way he can be seated, in that position. And
you'll be rubbing it in the face
you expect any fair conclusion on this matter, because the case has already been decided at the appeal court.
Yeah.
They are likely maybe perhaps to go to Supreme Court. We are saying that for him to give neutrality, for him to give confidence that actually he was not involved in whatever fraud there, it is only natural and proper for him to say, okay, let me step aside until after all this judicial issue is
let all
concluded.
the investigations be carried out.
Once that is done, I am telling you, AKPABIO would have been celebrated as someone who believes in the rule of law, as someone who really is not in that position because of personal interest, but public interest.
Right.
We need to differentiate public interest and personal interest.
But what if he sits tight? What then?
Well, if he continues to sit tight, then it means that it's a bad example for the future generation and for democracy itself, because...
but there's so many bad examples of democracy. Most people would probably just, shrug their shoulders and...
Well, but
life goes on.
But there should be integrity, and there should be dignity. There should be system correctness. You cannot simply, because some other people are doing it, then you continue to do it. It means that one day you cannot even have any election in Nigeria. People will just declare themselves winners. And if you continue with this kind of trend, you would have killed democracy itself.
And
already democracy is threatening now in this country.
You mentioned elections. Of course, I mean, 2027 is coming up, and one of the things you pointed out is that it's absolutely imperative that mechanisms that prevent electoral manipulation must be strengthened at all levels. And this is one of those times when we have to start, or the country has to start setting an example, so that there can be no question of the direction that it wants to go, which is essentially to prevent electoral manipulation.
Yeah, so our appeal to Mr. President and National Assembly members, as well as INEC, this is the right time to begin to do genuine electoral reform that can actually restore confidence, on Nigerians, that yes, indeed, Nigerians, political leaders are ready to allow democratic process to happen. Secondly, this is the time that we need to have a thorough reform on our political parties, because the current political parties that we have actually are not meeting the aspiration of Nigerians, and also even a requirement of a true political party system that you have. None of them is engaged in political education. None of them is talking to their members. And none of them is even paying any due. As a member of a political party, you need to be involved, you need to have ownership, you need to participate, you need to be in the decision making. How can you be in the decision making and be involved when it is only the governor, the president, and the big, financier using dirty money in some cases that decide and determine who becomes XYZ? That is not a true political party, and that cannot really usher us a true democratic election.
Yes, talking about parties, I mean, you also mentioned you talked about the ruling APC. You said you were calling on them to demonstrate their commitment to electoral reform and accountability by initiating a rerun of revalidation process for that Northwest senatorial seat in AKPABIO'S state. That's what.
Because the ruling party can actually, do a lot to demonstrate to Nigerians that they are actually serious about, electoral strengthening, electoral democracy in Nigeria by taking those steps. If they do that, they would have actually shown a good example, about the conduct or about the process, in Nigeria. So we are appealing to Mr. President to do everything possible to bring some level of sanity, and dignity in the political system in the country. If we just allow things to continue in this loose way, you will see impunity will take over. You will see violence will take over. You will see more marginalization of women and other, disadvantaged groups in the country.
Well, we're almost out of time. You're clearly not impressed with the executive, that arm of government. You're not that impressed with the legislature, the National Assembly. Are you impressed with how the judiciary has handled this case?
In this case, we salute the judiciary, and we also salute the Electoral Office Commissioner, Mike Igni, who...
Mike Igini.
Mike Igini actually, made a huge difference, and he has set a good example of other electoral commissioners who are supposed to uphold their position with integrity and dignity. Today he's no more there, but his name has been written, in a golden, in democracy in Nigeria and abroad. So we are proud of him, for him to stay away from collecting bribe, to do things based on, rule of law, based on, true democracy and true, fear of God. Those are the kind of people that we need to have in our public offices, not people who will go and be doing trading, with the people's, collective interests.
Okay. On that note, I want to thank you very much.